Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day of reading mythology with Daniel. All right, so we skipped ahead a little bit. So all that's about 99 pages or 98 pages or so of introductions of the different gods. So we went ahead and skipped past all that. So we're going to actually get into the stories now. And the first one is a Cupid story. So we're going to read that and then go from there. So I assume it's like a storybook. And as things go along, I will stop and talk about it like I normally do. And I hope everybody's having a good week so far. It's supposed to freeze where I am, so I guess we'll see what the day's going to be in the upcoming days anyway. But thank you again for coming to see me, and let's get to it. There once was a king who had 3 daughters, all lovely maidens, but the youngest, well, I'll say as a psyche, I'm going to say psyche, I'm not sure, excelled her sisters so greatly that beside them she seemed a very goddess, consorting with mere mortals. The fame of her surpassing beauty spread over the earth, and everywhere men journeyed to gaze upon her with wonder and adoration, and to do her homage as though she were in truth one of the immortals. They would even say that Venus herself could not equal this mortal. As they thronged in every growing numbers to worship her loveliness, no one any more gave a thought to Venus herself. Her temples were neglected, her altars foul with cold ashes, her favorite towns deserted and falling in ruins. And the honors once hers were now given to a mere girl destined some day to die. It may well be believed that the goddess would not put up with this treatment, as always, when she was in trouble, she turned for help to her son, that beautiful winged youth who some called Cupid and others called Love, against whose arrows there was no defense, neither in heaven nor on earth. She told him her wrongs, and as always, he was ready to do her bidding. Use your power, she said, and make the hussy fall madly in love with the vilest and most despicable creature there is in the whole world. And so no doubt he would have done, if Venus had not first shown him Psyche. I'm going to look that up real quick. Psyche is how you pronounce it. I was completely way off. So Psyche. Now let's get back. Never thinking in her jealous rage that such a beauty might do even a god of love himself. As he looked upon her, it was as if he had shot one of his arrows into his own heart. He said nothing to his mother. Indeed, he had no power to utter a word, and Venus left him with a happy confidence that he would swiftly bring about Psyche's ruin. What happened, however, was not what she had counted on. Psyche did not fall in love with a horrible wretch. She did not fall in love at all. Still more strange, no one fell in love with her. Men were content to look and wonder and worship, and then pass on to marry someone else. Both her sisters, inexpressibly inferior to her, were splendidly married, each to a king. Psyche, the all-beautiful, sat sad and solitary, only admired, never loved. It seemed that no man wanted her. This was, of course, most disturbing to her parents. Her father finally traveled to an oracle of Apollo and asked his advice on how to get her a good husband. The god answered him, but his words were terrible. Cupid had told him the whole story and had begged for his help. Accordingly, Apollo said that Psyche, dressed in deepest mourning, must be set on the summit of a rocky hill and left alone, and that there her destined husband, a fearful winged serpent, stronger than the gods themselves, would come to her and make her his wife. Oh, I bet she was super excited about that. Let me read that one more time. Let's see. Her destined husband, a fearful winged serpent, stronger than the gods themselves. That sounds great. I wonder if he told her The misery of all when Sashi's father brought back his lamentable news can be imagined. They dressed the maiden as though for her death, and carried her up to the hill with greater sorrow than if it had been her tomb. But Sashi kept her courage. "You should have wept for me before," she told them, "because of the beauty that has drawn down upon me jealously of heaven. Now go, knowing that I am glad the end has come." They went in despairing grief, leaving the lovely, helpless creature to meet her doom alone. Her doom. I thought this thing, the serpent, was supposed to be her husband. No, it's her doom. And they shut themselves in the palace to mourn all the days for her. On the high hilltop in the darkness, she sat, waiting for she knew not what terror. There, as she wept and trembled, a soft breath of air came through the stillness to her, and gentle breathing of zephyr, sweetest and mildest of winds. She felt it lift her up. She was floating away from the rocky hill and down until she lay upon a grassy meadow, soft as a bed of fragrant with flowers. It was so peaceful there. All her trouble left her as she slept. She woke beside a bright river, and on its bank was a mansion, stately and beautiful, as though built for a god, with pillars of gold and walls of silver and floors inlaid with precious stones. No sound was to be heard. The palace seemed deserted, and Sashi drew near, awestruck at the sight of such splendor. As she hesitated on the threshold, voices surrounded in her ear. She could see no one, but the words they spoke came to her clearly. The house was for her, they told her. She must enter without fear and bathe and refresh herself. Then a banquet table would be spread for her. "We are your servants," the voices said, "ready to do whatever you desire." The bath was the most delightful, the food the most delicious she had ever enjoyed. While she dined, sweet music breathed around her. A great choir seemed to sing to a harp, but she could only hear, not see them. Throughout the day, except for the strange companionship of the voices, she was alone. But in some inexplicable way, she felt sure that with the coming of the night her husband would be with her. And so it happened. When she felt him beside her and heard his voice softly murmuring in her ear, all her fears left her. She knew without seeing him that here was no monster or shape of terror, but the lover and husband she had longed and waited for. This half-and-half companionship would not fully content her. Still she was happy, and the time passed swiftly. One night, her dear, though unseen husband spoke gravely to her and warned her that danger in the shape of her two sisters was approaching. "They are coming to the hill where you disappeared, to weep for you," he said. "But you must not let them see you, or you will bring great sorrow upon me and ruin to yourself." She promised him she would not, but all the next day she passed in weeping, thinking of her sisters and herself, unable to comfort them. She was still in tears when her husband came, and even his caress could not check them. At last he yielded sorrowfully to the great desire. "Do what you will," he said, "but you are seeking your own destruction." Then he warned her solemnly not to be persuaded by anyone trying to see him, on pain of being separated from him forever. So she cried out that she would never do so. She would die 100 times over rather than live without him. "But give me this joy," she said, "to see my sisters." Sadly, he promised her that it should be so. The next morning the two came, brought down from the mountain by Zephyr, happy and excited, so she was waiting for them. It was long before the three could speak to each other. Their joy was too great to be expressed except by tears and embraces. But when at last they entered the palace and the elder sister saw its surpassing treasures, when they sat at the rich banquet and heard the marvelous music, bitter envy took possession of them, and a devouring curiosity as to who was the lord of all this magnificence and their sister's husband. But Sashi kept faith. She told them only that he was a young man, away now on a hunting expedition. Then, filling their hands with gold and jewels, she had Zephyr bear them back to the hill. They went willingly enough, but their hearts were on fire with jealousy. All of their own wealth and good fortune seemed to them as nothing compared with Sashi's. Which is weird, because why wouldn't your family be happy that you're happy? It's that greedy. It's that greediness. The greediness always ruins everything. It's like, who cares if she has what she has? It's like, who cares? And their envious anger so worked in them that they came finally to plotting how to ruin her. See? Right there. That very night, Sashi's husband warned her once more. She would not listen when he begged her not to let them come again. She could never see him, she reminded him. Was she also to be forbidden to see all others, even her sisters so dear to her? He yielded as before, and very soon the two wicked women arrived, and their plot carefully worked out. Already, because of Sashi's stumbling and contradictory answers when they asked her what her husband looked like, they had become convinced that she had never set eyes on him and did not really know what he was. They did not tell her this, but they reproached her for hiding her terrible state from them, her own sisters. They had learned, they said, and knew for a fact that her husband was not a man, but a fearful serpent Apollo's oracle had declared he would be. He was kind now, no doubt, but he would certainly turn upon her some night and devour her. So she, aghast, felt terror flooding in her heart instead of love. She had wondered so often why he would never let her see him. He must be some dreadful reason. There must be some dreadful reason. What did she really know about him? If he was not horrible to look at, then he was cruel to forbid her from ever to behold him. In extreme misery, faltering and stammering, she gave her sisters to understand that she could not deny what they said, because she had been with him only in the dark. There must be something very wrong, she sobbed, for him so to shun the light of day, and she begged them to advise her. That's a bad idea. Bad idea. She spent all this time waiting for somebody to come and love her, and this person that's given her everything, and now her sister's making her second guess. It's like getting that earwig, and then you second guess everything. They had their advice all prepared beforehand. That night she must hide a sharp knife in a lamp near her bed. When her husband was fast asleep, she must leave the bed, light the lamp, and get the knife. She must steel herself to plunge it swiftly into the body of the frightful being the light would certainly show her. We will be near, they said, and carry you away with us when he is dead. Then they left her torn by doubt and distracted what to do. She loved him. He was her dear husband. No. He was a horrible serpent, and she loathed him. She would kill him. She would not. She must have certainty. She did not want certainty. So all day long her thoughts fought with each other. When evening came, however, she had given the struggle up. One thing she was determined to do, she would see him. See, that sounds like a better idea than trying to... That's so bad. It's like, oh, just kill him. Just kill him. Everything's fine. And then we'll take you away. And she's happy. Why does it matter? When at last he lay sleeping quietly, she summoned all her courage and lit the lamp. She tiptoed to the bed and holding the light above her as she gazed at what lay there. Oh, the relief and the rapture that filled her heart. No monster was revealed, but the sweetest and fairest of all creatures, at whose sight the very lamp seemed to shine brighter. And her, for shame at the folly and lack of faith, so she fell on her knees and would have plunged the knife into her own breast if it had not fallen from her trembling hands. But those same unsteady hands that saved her betrayed her, too, for as she hung over him, ravished at the sight of him, and unable to deny herself the bliss of filling her eyes with his beauty, some hot oil fell from the lamp upon his shoulder. He started awake. He saw the light and knew her faithlessness. And without a word, he fled from her. She rushed out after him into the night. She could not see him, but she heard his voice speaking to her. He told her who he was, and sadly bade her farewell. Love cannot live where there is no trust, he said, and flew away. The God of love, she thought. He was my husband, and I, wretched that I am, could not keep faith with him. He is gone from me forever? At any rate, she told herself with rising courage, I can spend the rest of my life searching for him. If he has no more love left for me, at least I can show him how much I love him. And she started on her journey. She had no idea where to go. She knew only that she would never give up looking for him. He, meanwhile, had gone to his mother's chamber to have his wound cared for. But when Venus heard the story and learned that it was Psyche whom he had chosen, she left him angrily alone in his pain, and went forth to find the girl of whom he had made her still more jealous. Venus was determined to show Psyche what it meant to draw down the displeasure of a goddess. That's not good. Poor Psyche, nothing. She made these choices. In her despairing wanderings, was trying to win the gods over to her side. She offered ardent prayers to them perpetually, but not one of them would do anything to make Venus their enemy. At last, she perceived that there was no hope for her, either in heaven nor earth, and she took a desperate resolve. She would go straight to Venus. She would offer herself humbly to her as a servant and try to soften her anger. And who knows, she thought, if he himself is not there in his mother's house? So she set forth to find the goddess who was looking everywhere for her. But if she's a goddess, then they have like foresight? Can't they see things like that? I don't know. When she came into Venus's presence, the goddess laughed aloud and asked her scornfully if she was seeking a husband, since the one she had would have nothing to do with her, because she had almost died of the burning wound she had given him. Wow. But really, she said, you are so plain and ill-favored a girl that you will never be able to get your lover except by the most diligent and painful service. I will therefore show my good will to you by training you in such ways. With that, she took a great quantity of the smallest of seeds, wheat and poppy and millet and so on, and mixed them all together in a heap. By nightfall, these must be sorted, she said. See to it for your own sake. And with this, she departed. So she, left alone, sat still and stared at the heap. Her mind was all in a maze because of the cruelty of the command, and indeed it was of no use to start a task so manifestly impossible. But at this direful moment, she who had awakened no compassion in mortals or immortals was pitied by the tiniest of creatures in the field. The little ants, the swift runners, they cried to each other, come have mercy on this poor maid and help her diligently. At once they came, waves of them, one after another, and they labored separating and dividing, until what had been a confused mass lay all ordered, every seed with its kind. This was what Venus found when she came back, and very angry she was to see it. Your work is by no means over, she said. Then she gave Psyche a crust of bread and a blade, and bade her sleep on the ground while she herself went off to her soft, fragrant couch. Surely, if she could keep the girl at hard labor and half starve her too, that hateful beauty of hers would soon be lost. Until then, she must see that her son was securely guarded in his chamber, where he was still suffering from his wound. Venus was pleased at the way matters were shaping. Venus didn't like that. Venus didn't like this girl. And she shouldn't have, she did bad things. She made a mistake. She let somebody talk her into making bad choices. The next morning, she devised another task for Psyche, this time a dangerous one. Down there near the riverbank, she said, there bushes grow thick, are sheep with fleeces of gold. Go fetch me some of their shining wool. When the worn girl reached the gentle flowing stream, a great longing seized her to throw herself into it in all her pain and despair. But as she was bending over the water, she heard a little voice from near her feet, and looking down saw that it came from a green reed. She must not drown herself, it said. Things were not as bad as that. The sheep were indeed very fierce, but if Psyche could wait until they came out of the bushes toward evening to rest beside the river, she could go into the thickest and find plenty of the golden wool hanging on the sharp briars. So spoke the kind and gentle reed, and Psyche followed the directions, was able to carry back to her cruel mistress a quantity of the shining fleece. Venus received it with an evil smile. Someone helped you, she said sharply. Never did you do this by yourself. However, I will give you an opportunity to prove that you really have the stout heart and the singular prudence you make such a show of. Do you see that black water which falls from the hill yonder? It is the source of the terrible river which called Hateful the river Styx. You are to fill this flask from it. That is the worst task yet. As the she saw when she approached the waterfall, only a winged creature could reach it. So steep and slimy were the rocks on the sides, and so fearful the onrush of the descending waters. But this time, it must be evident to all the readers of the story, that although each of her trials seemed impossibly hard, an excellent way out would always be provided for her. This time her savior was an eagle, who poised his great wings beside her, seized the flask from her with his beak, and brought it back to her full of the black water. But Venus kept on. One cannot but accuse her of some stupidity. The only effect of that had happened was to make her try again. She gave Psyche a box, which she was to carry to the underworld, and ask Persephone to fill it with some of her beauty. She was to tell her that Venus really needed it. She was so worn out from nursing her sick son. Obediently, as always, Psyche went forth to look for the road to Hades. She found her guide in a tower she passed. It gave her careful directions on how to get to Persephone's palace. First, though, a great hole in the earth, then down to the river of death, where she must give the ferryman, Chiron, a penny to take her across. From there, the road led straight to the palace. Cerberus, the three-headed dog, guarded the doors, but if she gave him a cake, he would be friendly and let her pass. What kind of cake? All happened, of course, as the tower had foretold. Persephone was willing to do Venus a service, and Psyche, greatly encouraged, bore back the box, returning it far more quickly than she had gone down. So I'm going to stop there for now, for today. We have more story to read tomorrow, but so far, I like these. They're great fairy tales. These are just like stories, I guess, stories from time and mythology. So the moral of this story so far, this person's beauty, she's able to provide a good life. She had a good life. She had a husband, everything she wanted. Palace, husband, everything she could possibly want. And she let these people come in that were in her life, get in her ear, give her bad advice, and then she ruined it. So maybe take things that people say with a grain of salt and find out for yourself, but not do things that are bad at the same time. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming to see me. I appreciate it. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.